It's that time again. Hello, welcome to another midweek message. The temperature, I'll tell you the temperature in a minute. 80% humidity, 1017 millibars, and the flag I'm looking at now is barely moving. The sun is shining, overcast but fairly blue sky. Now to the temperature. At 7 o'clock this morning, the temperature was 6 degrees. 6 degrees centigrade. That's 42 Fahrenheit. In June, it seems rather low to me. I don't know what's going on quite with the summertime. Out of interest, daylight starts at 4 o'clock. I looked out of the window at 4 o'clock and it is daylight. It's kind of dusky, twilighty, but it's daylight. And it doesn't get dark till 10 at night. So that's only 6 hours of proper dark. I mention that because I thought you might be interested. You're not really, are you? Everyone's asleep at 4 in the morning except me. On my Fitbit watch thing, it said last night I had 2 hours, 20 minutes sleep. 2 hours, 20 minutes? I know I don't sleep well and I've got this cold and I was coughing at night, but surely I slept for more than 2 hours, 20 minutes. I don't know what to believe these days. The watch, the weather forecast, everything's gone mad. Don't believe anything or anyone. I think that's the answer. Let's move on. Thank you to everyone who has contributed to the running costs of the podcast, the website, the host, Podbean. Thank you very much. All your donations, greatly appreciated. Without you, the listeners and contributors, there would be no podcast episodes. Now let's move on to food. Ed, lovely to hear from you from America. Ed says, what do you eat? Well, we eat food, Ed. No, seriously, what are traditional British or English dishes? Well, in the old days, Ed, back when I was a kid, it was meat and 2 veg. You may have heard of that phrase, meat and 2 veg. Basically, meat and 2 different types of vegetables. Meat with potatoes and, cabbage, for example. That was a traditional English meal. So yes, that's what it used to be in the old days, Ed. When I was a kid, Friday was traditionally fish and chip day. You have fish and chips for dinner on a Friday. I don't quite know why. Fish and chip shops were always closed on a Monday. I think some of them still are. Apparently the reason is fishermen don't go out on a Sunday, so there's no fresh fish on Monday. Of course, these days it's very different, but that was the original reason that fish and chip shops were closed on Mondays. At school in the 50s and 60s, we had meat and 2 veg for school dinners. It was always potato, mashed potato with lumps in, because it wasn't mashed properly, some sort of disgusting gravy, and then liver and bacon, or I don't know what half of it was, beef and bits and pieces. So the vegetable side was potato, carrots and cabbage. The cabbage boiled to death for 4 hours, so it's just white cabbage. Presumably it was green when it started. The carrots were overcooked and they were just mushy, and the meat could be anything from, as I say, liver and bacon, beef, or some kind of indistinguishable meat. No one knew what it was. But I remember people tasting it. What's that? Is that chicken? No, I don't think it's chicken. No, is it? No, I don't know what it is. I didn't eat meat at all. I stopped eating it when I was 8 years old, and that was school dinners that did that for me. It was that bad at our school. I'm going back to the 50s. It was that bad that I just couldn't eat it. It was dreadful. I did try meat when I first started having school dinners, but what really put me off was people trying to work out what sort of meat it was. And some of the kids were jokers, oh, that's octopus. And I'd look at it and think, is it? Is that octopus? Someone else said it was ostrich, kangaroo. Other people said pigeon. I remember thinking it was pigeon. I believed that because I'd heard of pigeon pie. And I heard about all these disgusting things. I remember one kid, he was always insisting that it was alligator meat. He told me that his dad worked at London Zoo, and every now and then they'd have a dead alligator or crocodile and various other animals, and they would ship them round the schools for school dinners for meat. And of course at that age I believed him like a fool. The whole school dinner thing and the kids with their jokes, it just put me off. I did try it and it tasted disgusting. That probably wasn't how it should be cooked. It tasted disgusting because it wasn't, I don't know what they did to it. But that was it. I stopped eating meat at 8 years old and I've never eaten it since. I've never looked back. But that wasn't your question, was it? What do I eat? What did we eat? What do we eat now? These days, of course, we've got Indian restaurants, we've got Thai, we've got everything. Chinese, Lebanese, you name it. And you can find it at a restaurant. In fact, our traditional Christmas dinner, Ed, this will make you laugh, our Christmas dinner was always turkey, stuffing, sprouts, parsnips, roast potatoes, all that sort of thing. Traditional British Christmas dinner. These days, what do people do? They have curry. They go out for a curry, which seems very odd to me. I love curry. I love it, don't get me wrong, but not for Christmas dinner. What I'll do is get Trish to chat about food. She loves cooking. It's a hobby with her. And she knows all the dishes. What was it? Wartime pie or Woolton pie. She's made that. That's a wartime recipe. I won't do it now on the midweek message. It'll take too long. But perhaps on next Sunday's episode, I'll get Trisha in front of the microphone and she can talk about all the traditional English, British dishes. She'll enjoy that. It's rather handy that cooking is a hobby of hers and eating is a hobby of mine. Couple more things coming up this Sunday. A coach trip as I went on when I was a kid. We used to go down the seafront to the South Down coach office and you'd have to pay 5 bob or 10 shillings or whatever. We went on a mystery tour. My grandmother took me on a mystery tour. I'll tell you about that Sunday. So far for the Seagull intro poll for the main podcast episode on Sunday. It's half and half at the moment, 50-50. Half of you want the seagull, other half want wild birds in the woods. So I'm making a note of that, jotting that down on a bit of paper, keeping the score. I know it's silly, but it's good, clean fun. No harm in it, that's the main thing. Talking of wild birds in the woods, that takes me back to my teenage years. We won't go there. Save that. Save that for another day. Wild birds in the woods, stone the crows. Happy days. Email from George in London. Have you still got a little transistor radio? Yes, George is talking about the one I used to take to school. I've got a tiny one here. Let me see if it still works. Hang on a minute, George. Here we go. There we are. Little pocket transistor radio in a leather case. Very similar to the one I took to school in my blazer pocket, inside blazer pocket, listening to the Pirates. Listening to the Pirates way back in the 60s. I didn't have one in the 50s because the little transistor radios came out, well, any transistor radio really, it was early 60s they started coming onto the market big time, you know. I think there were some available in the 50s, but the small pocket ones, they were early 60s onwards, and they were really good. They worked really well, long wave, medium wave. Ideal to take to school with a little earphone. Do you remember those little earphone things? Put the radio in your blazer pocket. Little earphone. Had long hair in those days, of course, in the 60s, so you couldn't see the earphone. Sit there looking at the teacher, listening to the Pirates. Now, that was one aspect of school that I did like. Did you take a transistor radio to school? Of course, it depends how old you are. Raise Rants at protonmail.com. Let me know. Raise Rants at protonmail.com. There was a thing on the TV this morning about junk food adverts. They shouldn't have adverts for junk food when the kids get in from school and in the earlier evening because kids are watching the telly. They should do it later on or not at all to try and make kids eat a healthier diet. And as someone pointed out, kids don't watch telly these days. They've got their iPads, their iTubes, their eyes this, their eye that. They don't sit there and watch TV like we used to. So it's all a bit pointless, isn't it? It's TikTok and places like that that you'd have to ban the adverts and all the stuff about junk food, not ordinary television. And they were also talking about these high energy drinks full of caffeine, is it? Apparently they make kids hyper and they can't sleep. They're hyperactive, they can't sleep. They're talking about banning those on TV adverts. But again, it's all on TikTok and other social media places. That's where the kids are. Not on the telly. I shall see you on Sunday with the hour-long or almost hour-long episode. Raise Rants at protonmail.com. Don't forget to email me. Did you have school dinners? Did you like school dinners? Did you take a transistor radio to school? Do you eat junk food? If you've anything to say, let me know. Thanks for listening as always. Take care. Be good, be bad. See you on Sunday. Bye-bye for now.